This is James Mathers at NAB 2018 for the Digital Cinema Society and New Bay Media. I'm here at the Panasonic booth, and my friend Steve Cooperman is going to tell us about some interesting developments with Panasonic ProRes RAW.
Yeah, well, actually, it's not Panasonic ProRes, but a big exciting announcement a few days ago was ProRes RAW. It's been adapted. Apple came out with it, and now it's working on products such as the Atomos, turn it here, Atomos Shogun Inferno, and then products like our EVA1 here, which just last week we turned on the raw outputs. Now the 2K and 4K signal starting today can be recorded into this Inferno. And then next month there'll be an additional firmware update from Atomos to record full 5.7K raw out of the EVA into the Inferno.
Yeah, so that's
pretty exciting.
That's the camera we're using to shoot this with. We could be shooting 4K RAW with this little camera, and it works with VariCam.
Yeah, it also works with the VariCam. So the VariCam LT, not the 35, but the VariCam LT already had a RAW output to a couple of recorders, one of them being the Atomos Inferno. And again, with the firmware update available today, it turns on the up to a 4K RAW record capability in the ProRes RAW format.
So a lot of interoperability.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you know, the one thing, it's not just ProRes RAW, even though that's awesome, but it really starts with our version 2 update. So just last week, a week ago today, we came out with our EVA version 2 update. Free firmware available online. And so now everything that we promised when we first started shipping the EVA back last October, everything's available. And part of that, you know, was the raw output, and it's being, you know, facilitated by ProRes RAW, you know, by Atomos. But there was a lot of other new features that came about last week that are pretty exciting. You know, one of them is 400 megabit all iframe recording. So as of Monday, last Monday, that's available. So 400 megabit, 422 all iframe in-camera recording, 10-bit. So that's a pretty, you know, darn high quality of video. Don't use your cheap SD cards, but definitely Panasonic V90, V60 are, you know, fast enough cards. But that's a really nice thing. And on top of that, just the other day, Netflix, obviously they're spending billions of dollars on production, and they have a list of approved cameras for their productions. Just the other day, the EVA1 went onto that list. And part of that reason is really because of this version 2 update, bringing you the 422 10-bit capability. So we got 422 10-bit, we've got the Atomos, or the connectivity or capability with ProRes RAW. And what's really awesome about ProRes RAW is that you get, you know, the power of, well, having, you know, RAW, all the capabilities, but the flexibility of ProRes, which is essentially a ubiquitous codec, you know, all across all sorts of different editing platforms. So that's nice. Other things that happened with the recent updates, actually earlier in March, maybe it was late February, but some additional lens support with some of the Sigma and Canon lenses on the EVA, so that's a nice thing. This recent update has some additional hand control. Few things that aren't exciting maybe for the production guys, but we actually introduced some interlace codecs on the EVA.
For broadcasters.
Exactly, for broadcasters. Usually the production guys say, well, why the heck are you doing this? And you're right, you know, they don't want it. But so for the broadcast guys and gals that have some existing, you know, some existing workflows, we introduced that as well. So lots of new things on the EVA version 2.
Now you're already talking about the latest firmware, but I think this is the first NAB that the EVA's been at.
Technically, yes. Untechnically, last year at NAB we had it hidden under a shroud. So you were here, and approximately this spot here where we had the wall of cameras, we had it under a cover. And there was a lot of interest at the show. It was a block of wood, essentially. And then we officially introduced it last year at Cinegear, where we uncovered the technology and discussed it. And then over the summer, we started shooting some movies with some filmmakers around Los Angeles and in Europe as well. And then we started shipping it in October. So this is the first true NAB where it's working. And not only do we have 4 here, and then we have some behind you, and as well as in the dark room with the VariCam, but we've worked with partners where we've got about 20 cameras at major lens and other partners. You know, Ingenue, Cook, even our friends at Arri. I like their accessories, and lots of other people.
For the people that aren't familiar with the EVA, maybe they've been hiding under a rock somewhere.
Sure.
Where does it fit into your line?
So we have a full cinema lineup, including our friends on the consumer side, that starts with the GH5 camera. Great camera, little still camera, about $2,000, 4/3 sensor. But the next level up for the guy who wants more than that in a traditional camera body, but less than a VariCam LT, is the EVA. So the body, nice little square, viewfinder, grip. It's about $7,300. I think it's $7,345 street price. And then you could outfit it in multiple ways. We have several different partners here with accessories. And then the next level up then is the VariCam LT, and then the VariCam 35, and then the VariCam Pure, which is essentially a VariCam 35, but with the Codex VRAW 2 recorder integrated into it.
And this still has the dual native ISO?
Yes, yeah, the EVA has the same dual ISO technology that was innovated with the VariCam, whereas the VariCam, the whole VariCam family, has a native base of 800 and 5000. The EVA has a base of 800 and 2500. So essentially 2 film stocks in one.
Filling out the whole line of Panasonic cameras.
Line. I mean, you mentioned the VariCam, and I saw you shot a video a couple of months ago, but it cuts very nicely. The EVA and the VariCam have the Vlog log inside the camera. So when you're shooting content, you can match them pretty nicely within the same range of stops as I think you showed. And now what's pretty cool though, with ProRes RAW, which is interesting between the EVA and the VariCam LT, you could record them both out if you'd like to ProRes RAW or ProRes RAW HQ. And that's a nice little workflow using the same RAW codec, same kind of color space. Nice little thing for those productions where maybe you need, one LT and a bunch of EVAs roving around.
That's a lot of features for a little tiny camera.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Especially at that price point. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. And if you're fans, the Jimmy fans, want more information, go to our NAB site. It's us.panasonic.com/NAB2018.
Thanks again, Steve.
Thanks again, Jim.